Jekyll and Hyde. Chapter 1 starts with Dr. Enfield and Dr. Utterson taking a walk through London. The two men come across a door, and Mr. Enfield tells Utterson about something he encountered. Dr. Enfield explains that he was taking a walk at around 3 a.m. when he encountered a young girl around 8 being trampled by a short man. They talk about how the man paid off Enfield to keep his mouth shut. When he brings back the check, the name on it is not his own, but Utterson can agree that they can assume the name on the check, and the two men agree to never speak of this incident again. When Dr. Utterson gets home, he looks through his safe and finds the will of Dr. Jekyll and sees the name Mr. Hyde on the will labeled a friend and benefactor. He then heads over to Lanyon's house, and the butler welcomes him inside. When Lanyon sees him in his home, he is happy and welcoming. They make small talk, and then Utterson gets to why he is there. He asks him what he knows about the will. Lanyon explains that Jekyll had become too fanciful for him and that they had grown apart, so he didn't have any information about Hyde in the will. Utterson was walking near the door, and then he saw a small man but couldn't make out the face. He tapped him on the shoulder, and when the man turned, he could tell it was Hyde. Utterson asks him questions about the will, but before he will answer, he wants to know how he knows about him. He explains it to him, and Hyde becomes irate. After confronting Mr. Hyde, Utterson headed over to Dr. Jekyll, where Poole greeted Utterson and they engaged in a conversation about Hyde and Jekyll. Jekyll was having one of his occasional dinner with some friends. Utterson approached Jekyll by saying that he had been meaning to ask him something. Utterson expresses great interest in his will, and Jekyll tries to throw him off. He also expresses the fact that he never agreed or was okay with his will. Lots of time passes before there is a major crime. There was a maid directly upstairs who witnessed a horrible thing. Hyde walked down the street at the same time as Dr. Carew. Dr. Hyde attacked Dr. Carew with his cane and killed him. Some objects were found, including a watch and a purse on the body of the victim, and a sealed, stamped envelope. Utterson heard about the case, and when the stick that Dr. Carew had been beaten and killed with was presented before him, he knew it was Hyde who had committed the crime, as he had the cane the night that they met. Utterson then said that he would be able to take them to Hyde's home. When they arrived, a stern, pearl-faced woman answered and explained that Mr. Hyde was not there since very late that night. Dr. Utterson made his way back to Jekyll's once again. Poole let him in. They were in the cabinet now, and Utterson had a big question. He wanted to make sure that Dr. Jekyll was not hiding Hyde in the cabinet. He swore to him that he would never even lay eyes on him again. Utterson questions why he is so sure of Hyde, and Jekyll explains that he isn't able to say, but that he is sure of him. He then says that he has a letter from Hyde, that he wasn't sure whether he should give it to the police. He gives it to Utterson to figure out what to do with it. At this point, many people were searching for Hyde. They wanted to find him so much that they were offering thousands of pounds. But Mr. Hyde had disappeared for a while now. And after a bit of time, Jekyll and Lanyon had both fallen deathly ill. Jekyll did not allow anyone to come inside. Utterson tried to go to Jekyll's, but Poole explained that he was not accepting visitors. He then headed over to Lanyon's, where he was observed to be dying as well. He did not want to speak of Jekyll. Lanyon died 1 week after, and it was noticed that Jekyll confined himself to the laboratory. Utterson later received a letter that was for him only. It was marked to be opened after the death or disappearance of Henry Jekyll. Utterson and Enfield were taking another walk when they stopped to gaze at the door of Dr. Hyde's being. They proceed to peek in a window. They then break into Dr. Jekyll's cabinet and find him. He looks awful and is visibly dying. He refers to himself as low. Jekyll is up, staring out the window, and he is smiling for a minute. He appears happy, and then his face is struck with terror, and he thrusts the window shut, leaving the two other men shook. In the beginning of Chapter 8, Utterson gets a visit from Poole. Poole explains that something is possibly wrong with Jekyll. Seriously wrong. When they got home, all the servants were scared as if there was something seriously wrong. Poole and Utterson approach the cabinet door, and they hear a voice inside that they cannot make out as Jekyll or Hyde. Poole then shares that there had been crying and pacing in the cabinet all week. When the two men finally break in, they find Hyde's body on the floor, and he's dead.